Hello, third grade, and welcome to Chapter 5 of Social Studies. In this chapter, we're talking about American citizens, symbols, and government. Why do governments and citizens need each other? In this chapter, you'll learn how our governments are organized and how they work. You'll learn about citizenship. You'll also explore what it means to be a good citizen. With your class, you'll work on a chapter project to write a constitution that sets the classroom rules. So this is going to be the project that's due at the end of our chapter. You're going to create a classroom constitution. In this project, you'll work with your class to create a classroom constitution that sets the rules everyone must follow to make the classroom a fair and safe community. Your project checklist. These are the things you need to do. Set a purpose for your classroom constitution. Think about how you should behave in the classroom. List a set of rules that everyone must follow. Discuss the consequences for breaking a rule. Write a constitution that describes rules for your class and the consequences for breaking a rule, and then agree to follow the constitution. Write down any research questions you have that'll help you plan your project, and you can add questions as you carry out your research. So you're going to work on that down here. Now, the first thing we're going to do with every new chapter is we're going to go through the vocabulary. So you're going to go through the words, you're going to check either know it, heard it, or don't know it. And then as we're going through the lessons and you come across these vocabulary words, you can flip back and fill in the definitions for each one of them. So your words are compromise, executive branch, federal, hero, judicial branch, jury, justice, legislative branch, rights, and volunteer. So we're going to use our investigative skills to find out about the United States Constitution. Reading and talking about the Constitution will help you understand how the government is set up. All right, let's go ahead and read through our blue bar instructions. It says, read the first paragraph. What is the preamble? Circle any words in the preamble that you don't know. Underline the words that tell who the Constitution is written for. And then discuss with a partner the reason why the Constitution was written. Then restate the reasons in your own words, and you can write that down here. Number 2, reread the preamble. How many reasons are listed for why the Constitution was written? Why do you think the founders listed so many reasons? Think about the phrase, promote the general welfare. What does the word welfare mean? Name a word that has a similar meaning. Preamble of the United States Constitution. Have you ever heard or seen the words, we the people? You can find them at the beginning of our nation's Constitution. This part is called the preamble. The preamble introduces the Constitution. The opening words show that the United States government is run by its people and for its people. The preamble also lists the reasons why the Constitution was written. Let's read the preamble to find out more. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The preamble also tells about American beliefs. For example, the people of the United States are very important. The government gets its power from the people. Also, it is important for the states to join together. They are stronger as one country. Let's go ahead and jump into our graphic organizers. Now, our first graphic organizer, we're going to be talking about the main idea and details. So after you read your text all the way through, you're going to use the titles to identify the topics. You're going to ask yourself, what is the most important idea about this topic? And then look for information that tells more about that main idea. So here they gave us the main idea that the preamble introduces the United States Constitution. Some details that you could list there would be that it tells who the Constitution is written for, or you can say that it lists why the Constitution was written. You can list either or both of those reasons. Moving on, we're going to take a look at our textbook and read pages 206 to 215. And we're going to use our skills to add details to the main ideas that they gave us. So our main ideas are the Articles of Confederation was the first plan for the government of the United States. So we're going to write in some details about the Articles of Confederation. The second one says, at the Constitutional Convention, a new constitution was written for the United States. The third one says, democracy is an important part of American government. Next, it says, other countries have governments that are similar to or different from ours. So we're going to find details about all of those as we read, and then we will fill them in. The history of the Constitution. What makes democracy work? Have you ever had to make a plan? A plan is a set of directions. It helps people figure out how to do something. Your family may have a plan for emergencies, such as what to do when the electricity goes out. The United States government also has a plan. This plan for how to run the government is called the United States Constitution. Why does our country need a written constitution? To answer that question, we need to go back in time. More than 200 years ago, people from Europe formed 13 colonies in North America. A colony is an area that's controlled by another country. The American colonies were controlled by Great Britain. Many people living in the colonies were unhappy about this. They did not like high taxes that they were forced to pay. They wanted to rule themselves. To win their freedom, the American colonists fought a war with Great Britain. We call this war the Revolutionary War. It began on April 19th, 1775. Here you can see a small picture that says Revolutionary War soldiers. You can see that they've got their soldiers, they've got a drummer. Next to that, the large picture shows the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. The timeline above shows July 4th, the 13 colonies declare their independence from Great Britain. That's July 4th, 1776. On November 15th, 1777, the Articles of Confederation were approved. On June 21st, 1788, the US Constitution becomes the law. And on December 15th, 1791, the Bill of Rights is added to the Constitution. The Articles of Confederation. While they were fighting the British, the American colonists needed to band together to form a government. In 1776, leaders from each colony met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They talked about the best way to set up their new government. Many Americans wanted a weak national government. They believed that the King of Great Britain had too much power. They did not want to give one person or group too much power in their new country. In 1777, American leaders approved a set of laws called the Articles of Confederation. This became the first plan of government for the new nation. The Articles created a weak national government. Eventually, many Americans came to believe that the United States government was too weak. When the Revolutionary War ended in 1783, they realized that the United States needed a stronger national government. Colonial settlement by 1760. 13 colonies became the first states. Discuss with a partner which colony was located farthest north, which colony was located farthest south. So which one is up north the highest and which one is farthest south. Now in our graphic organizer, we can go ahead and jump back and we can add details for the Articles of Confederation. We can say that it originally set up a weak national government and it was approved in the year 1777 during the time of the Revolutionary War. All right, let's go ahead and continue reading. The Constitutional Convention. In 1787, the leaders met again in Philadelphia. They called this meeting the Constitutional Convention. At this meeting, they discussed how to set up the government. How much power should each state have? How powerful should the national government be? Finally, they came to an agreement. They signed the United States Constitution into law on June 21st, 1788. This written document states the duties of the government. Biography, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin worked on writing both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. He was 81 years old during the Constitutional Convention. He gave the other leaders advice on how to write the Constitution. A year later, he wrote to a French friend, "Our new Constitution is now established and has an appearance that promises permanency. But in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. So if we jump back to our graphic organizer, our second point was that at the Constitutional Convention, the new Constitution was written for the United States. So some details we can put was that it created a system of government for the United States. People who helped write it included Benjamin Franklin, and it took effect or was put into place in 1788. The Constitution is written. 35 men who wrote the United States Constitution are called the founders. These founders each have important places in our country's history. George Washington led the meetings at the Constitutional Convention. He was our nation's first president. James Madison took careful notes during the meetings. He became our fourth president. Benjamin Franklin gave valuable advice. Alexander Hamilton suggested many new ideas. These representatives worked together to create a system of government that would work best for our country. When the meetings ended, 39 of the representatives signed the Constitution. It was then approved by each state. Today, the United States Constitution is the oldest national constitution that is still in use. Many other countries around the world have modeled their own constitutions on it. Today, you can see our ideas for government in the constitutions of other countries. Did you know each state has its own constitution? Like the United States Constitution, a state's constitution describes how the state's government works. It also includes the most important laws, ideas, and beliefs determined by the state's leaders. Although the United States has the same constitution since it was founded, some states have had several. For example, Louisiana has rewritten its constitution 11 times. The founders argued for a long time about how the states would be represented in the new system of government. Some believe that the states with more people should have more representatives than the states with fewer people. Others believe that each state should have the same number. The same number of representatives, regardless of how many people live there. The founders eventually decided Congress would have two parts. The Senate would have the same number of representatives from each state. It did not matter how many people lived in that state. The number of representatives a state could send to the House of Representatives would be based on the state's population. This is a system we still use today. The Constitution was debated and signed in Independence Hall. So what you can add to that second part of our graphic organizer is you can add some of the names of the people that were involved. So we talked about George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton. And you can add that to the details we had just talked about a little while ago. Let's go ahead and move on to our next pages, democracy and our country. Today, the original Constitution of the United States is on display in the rotunda of the National Archives Museum in Washington, D.C. The Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights are also there. Together, these three documents are called the Charters of Freedom. They describe the most important ideas that America stands for. One of those ideas is that all people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In other words, everyone has the right to live how they want to be happy. All Americans also have the right to justice. Each person is treated fairly and equally under the law. If someone is accused of a crime, he or she has the right to a fair trial. The founders listed several specific freedoms in the Bill of Rights. They thought these freedoms needed to be protected. These freedoms included the freedom of speech, religion, press, and assembly. The United States citizens also have the freedom to choose their leaders. America is a democracy. In a democracy, the people are in charge. They vote to make decisions about how the country is run. However, it would be impossible for people to vote on every decision that needs to be made. This is why the United States is a representative democracy. Citizens vote to elect people who will represent them in the government. Then the representatives vote to make decisions about running the nation. Each November, elections are held all across the country. Voters choose the representatives who will work for them. The people who are elected serve for only a set amount of time. After that, after they've served that time, they may choose to run again. If they had done a good job, the voters will re-elect them, but if they have not done a good job, voters have the right to elect a new representative. So when we go back to our graphic organizer, our third section here, democracy is an important part of American government. Some details you could add there is that it gives Americans the freedom to choose their own leaders. Elections are held each year to either re-elect a representative or to elect a new one if they want to. Governments around the world. The United Kingdom. The government of the UK is a constitutional monarchy. A monarchy is a country ruled by a queen or a king. However, in a constitutional monarchy, the king or queen is more of a symbol for the country. He or she does not have power to make the laws or run the government. Like the US Congress, the government of the United Kingdom is divided into two parts. The government, led by the Prime Minister, runs the country. The Prime Minister is similar to a president, but has more power. He or she chooses who will run the government. The other part of the government is Parliament. Its job is to approve or disapprove decisions made by the government. Parliament has two parts. The House of Commons, like Congress, is made up of people who are elected, and the House of Lords is made up of people picked to serve for life. The Houses of Parliament in London, England. That's the picture you're looking at the bottom. China. China is a communist country. Only people who are in the Communist Party can serve in the government. Like other countries, China's government is divided into different parts. For example, one group makes laws and another group enforces the laws. But in China, a very small group of powerful Communist Party members make most of the decisions. One person, called the paramount leader, is the most powerful person in the country. South Africa. For many years, the government of South Africa had a system called apartheid. In this system, Black South Africans were treated unfairly. They had fewer rights than white South Africans. This unjust system came to an end in 1994. South Africans wrote a new constitution for their nation. It gave rights and equality to people of all races. Today, the South African government has elected representatives of different races. All right, that takes us to the end of our reading. Our last section, the graphic organizer. Other countries have governments that are similar to or different from ours. We can say the United Kingdom has a prime minister who is like a president, but has more power. China has one leader with a lot of power, and South Africa and the United Kingdom have parliaments with elected leaders, just like the US Congress. Going into our next section. Whoops. Over to page 200 and 201. In the Write About It section, it says work with a partner to write a list of items that might be in a classroom constitution. So think about who makes the rules, how decisions will be made, list everything and use complete sentences and add lots of details. And then for the connect to the essential question where it says pull it together, how does the Constitution help our government and its citizens to work together? So here, show what the Constitution is or does, show that it's a system for making laws and sharing power, add detail to your answer, and make sure you're using proper punctuation, capitalizing where you need to, and that you are using complete sentences. Once you're done with that, you're finished with this lesson. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.